Now we've heard from four Filipinas represent, who built successful careers in crypto. So each of them taking a different path, but ending up in a respectable sphere in crypto. Now, we will hear from another Filipino who managed to build a successful international career, but will never forget their home, because home is where the heart is. From Pampanga to LA and back to Manila today for the Philippine Web3 Festival. Are you guys excited? Woo! Okay, everyone, please welcome Apple the App of the Black Eyed Peas. Woohoo!
Yep.
All right. And of course, we also invite Leah Calon Butler, Director of Emfarsis, coined as writer and former Kapampangan local, to join Apple the App on stage for some fireside chat. Let's all give them a hand.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that fantastic introduction. Magandang umaga, Apple.
Magandang umaga din. Magandang umaga sa inyong lahat, everyone.
It's so awesome to have you here. And I just want to point out too, you just dropped a brand new album on Friday. You're flying out to perform at the FIFA World Cup tomorrow, but somehow you found time to drop into Manila for the PH Web3 Fest.
Yes. So, I had to do it. These are some amazing opportunity for our creatives in Philippines. So I'm really into it. I'm a student learning, but I see the possibilities for the future for Pinoy Creative. So I had to be a part of it.
Yeah, that was awesome. I wasn't sure whether you'd be able to make the time, but as soon as we reached out to Apple on email, he was like, hell yeah, I'm there. Like, it was awesome. So, but let's dive straight into Web3, because I think everyone knows you for the Black Eyed Peas, but they don't necessarily know what you've been doing in the space of NFTs. And it's true that you launched an NFT collection in collaboration with AJ Dimaricot in 2021, and you even donated a portion of the sales from that collection to the First Mint Fund, which, if you haven't heard of it, that's a fund that actually covers the gas fees for first-time NFT creators to help launch their careers. So, you've actually been in this space for a little while now. How did you actually first learn about NFTs, and what got you excited about this whole thing?
Yeah, so I was, I used to sneak it into these clubhouse sessions, and I heard about people talking about NFT, and I'm like, what, NFT? That's, I was trying to understand it. It was this digital art. It's like art, but it's not. Then you could blockchain, and I'm like, what is all of that? What is this new thing? And I reached out to my team, and I'm like, I want to learn about NFTs, and how can I incorporate it into my music? And my team, we connected with AJ, one of our scholars. About 2 years ago, I went around Philippines talking to creatives, and we wanted to teach creatives entrepreneurship and business. So we started a scholarship program. And when I wanted to get into NFT, AJ was doing NFTs, and that's the first, our collaboration, my introduction to NFT. So I shot a video. And then he created a scene from my video, turned it into an NFT. And I didn't understand about it yet, but I like the fact that I'm able to help creatives and artists in the Philippines. And that's what really got me into it. And now I'm just learning all around.
You've got some interesting stories, like when you were going around and talking to all those creatives about their experience. Like, I think you've heard a lot of things about people having their work stolen or copied, and it's really difficult for them to protect that. Like, what were some of those stories that you heard about Filipino creatives not being able to get recognized and paid properly and things like that?
Yeah, they weren't judged by by their creativity, but they were judged by where they are from, you know. And you know, they'll you know, I was hearing horrible stories about they'll create like a logo, and they'll only get paid like $20 to $30 for the logo because, you know, they're not known as artists, and you know, that's just the way they're treated, you know. And I think you know, Web3 protects them from you know, their art being copied or stolen. And that was great to know. So I'm like, all right, that's another thing that's amazing about this Web3, the protection for Filipino creatives, so they could be out there more, right?
Yeah, that's awesome. I think NFTs are just the latest for you, though, right? Like, you've been experimenting with a lot of technology, like AR, for example, like augmented reality. You were saying, I think, like, everyone seems to be on their phones these days, you know, right? And like, they're turning up to your concerts, just kind of like looking at you through a phone. Like, has that given you some different ideas too, in terms of how you can experiment with other types of technology too?
Say that again.
So, like, I think you were talking about, you know, when people are, I'm sure you've all experienced it, right? Like, you go to a concert these days, no one's watching the actual concert, like, they've just got their phone up, like, filming it. But, you know, I think some people might get annoyed by that, but I think, you know, the Black Eyed Peas were kind of looking at this, like, maybe it's an opportunity. Like, what if you could actually put up your phone and actually see things on the stage that you couldn't in real life?
Yeah, so, you know, we started doing shows again, and, you know, technology, it's like really popping now. So when we're doing concerts, everyone is just like this, you know, just, you know, I'm like, are you guys watching the concert, you know? So we came up with an idea. We created an AR. So when people put up their phone while they're watching you, there's other visuals happening behind us. And so that was, you know, instead of being annoyed by that, by this, we turned it into like a cool thing. So, yeah.
I love that. Like, I'm jumping ahead, but I'm starting to think like that would be...
Yeah, so we didn't have to carry all these like props while we're touring. So our touring got lighter by technology and just, you know, placing it on an AR component. And yeah, I mean, I see so many things now, like, you know, creatives could be directors now, you know? They could possibly create our videos, you know? They could create the treatment. They could do treatment now. They could possibly be, you know, be a producer, and it's just endless with this technology.
But you've been pushing this for a long time. Like, you've been a big advocate for the idea of education, art, and technology in the Philippines. But, you know, I think there's still that idea. A lot of Asian parents probably want their kids to do like accounting or law or medicine. Like, why are you pushing so hard for people to follow careers in the creative arts?
Well, I'm pushing for creative arts because I come from it. You know, I created a livelihood doing it, and that's what Hollywood is. It's all creatives, and you know, we just gotta prove it and create the industry here in the Philippines. So all the nanays and tatais are not scared. Like, oh my God, my kid is gonna be on drugs now. He's doing entrepreneurship, creative, you know, and it's about to boom, and we have to apply ourselves in this new era, you know, and yeah, it's proven that it could be a job now and a livelihood, you know, through my industry, and so many artists that I'm meeting in the Philippines doing it now.
Yeah, you've got to kind of change people's minds. I think it's the same with gaming, right? Like, you know, gaming's really big in the Philippines, but I'm sure lots of parents would have freaked out if they said, oh, I want to follow gaming as a career. But, you know, paying it forward, that culture is really big here in the Philippines. It's really important to you too. why is it so important for you to give back to the Philippines?
Well, it's important for me to give back because I myself was given an opportunity. I was adopted as a kid and brought to the U.S., gained an education, became a black eyed pea. So I like to pay it forward and provide that same opportunity to kids just like me in the Philippines. You know, whatever that I could bring back, knowledge from the U.S., from building classrooms to computer labs to scholarship programs, and now to NFTs. Because I was, I want to keep doing it, but the sustainability is the hard part of a foundation in building things. And now with Web3, I think it'll be much easier to create that sustainability. I don't have to build structures all the time to be able to help the youth and the creatives in the Philippines. You could do it via Web3 now, and you could reach more people. And like I'm really into music and discovering new artists. Discovered J. Ray Soul from Laguna on The Voice, so brought her to the U.S. And I wish I could do that a million times, but it takes so long with the papers and the cash. And I think that with this technology, that I'm able to discover more artists and, create the industry here and not them having to leave the Philippines and make it here, through Web3 it's like international, that's like, we want to go international. Now there it is to go international. And I think I could discover and produce more artists in the Philippines through this technology.
Yeah, because it's not very scalable, is it? Like if you've got to leave your country to go all the way over to the US to find opportunity, that's really hard. But, essentially you are an OFW. You're an overseas Filipino worker. You're still sending money home to mom. Like that's a very relatable experience for a lot of Filipinos. But also, your experience was tough, right? You got to the US, you only spoke Tagalog, didn't speak a word of English, and the first friend you made was Will I Am. How did you bond with him? How did you make his friendship?
Yeah, so my mom found a foundation where they support abandoned American kids, and she signed me up in the foundation. And the way I got to the U.S., I used to tell my dad about my eyesight, because I have a very bad eyesight, and I had to show my grades to him, and I couldn't see the board. So, I would apologize in my letter. Dad, I'm sorry about my math grade. I know it's low. It's because I can't see the board. I'm having to play catch up with the rest of the students. And by telling him that story, I think it spawned the wanting my eyesight to be checked by American ophthalmologists, and took me to the U.S. in 1986. And during our break, he took me to Disneyland and Universal Studio, and I'm like, oh my God, this is America. I want to stay here longer now, So I actually asked my dad. I'm like, Mr. Hudgens, could you adopt me? And he's like, well, I got to talk to your mom and the Philippine government. And 3 years later, he processed. And then I got to the U.S., and my dad was best friend with will.i.am's uncle. So before I was enrolled in school, they introduced me to him. So I have someone to play with, same age. So they took me to East LA, and I remember going to East LA, and Will was looking at me like this, rare object or something. It's like, you're from the Philippines? It's like, I've never heard of that place. What do you do there? I'm like, oh, I barely spoke English then, and I was like, oh, I I go to school, I go farming with my grandfather, and I take care of water buffaloes. And I like to break dance. It's like, what? You like to break dance? It's like, all right, show me. It's like, I break dance too. It's like, all right, what do you know? So before I left Philippines, I saw the Running Man on the Pepsi commercial. And then I was trying to practice that, and then that's the move that I learned before I left. So he's like, you know the Running Man? All right, show me. So I had to, I had to show him up, and I'm like, yeah. You know? And it's like, yeah, I break dance too, and I rap, and so we started hanging out every weekend after that, and then we formed a dance crew. We formed a dance crew. We would just practice breakdancing, and then I started when I attended school. I started meeting other Filipinos, and then they always throw house parties. So I would invite Will, and that's where we would perform first, at house parties, Filipino parties, and that was our first interaction, and then the rest is history. We formed a dance crew that evolved to At Bank Clan, our first band, and then Eazy-E passed away in 95, so we couldn't move on with that name, and then we started Black Eyed Peas in 95.
And then he was suggesting that you should start rapping too. And like, bear in mind, he's only been in the US for what, like a couple of years, still learning English. Yeah. But you were like, yeah. So what was the first thing you rapped?
Yes, so Will was like, yo, you should rap with me. I'm like, what? I could barely speak English, And he's like, you got it, man, you got it. You got rhythm, you could break dance. I could tell. And so Will was like, I'm just gonna put on some beats and then just say whatever on top of your head and try to make it rhyme. I'm like, all right, that's so easy to do, huh? And so he put on a beat, right? So the beat went Abakada ega aila mananang o para sa tauaya. He's like, yo, that's dope, man. Oh my God, I knew it, you got it. What did you say? And I was like, the ABCs of Tagalog. And then we kept practicing after that. Then I started writing more, and then yeah. So
the rest is history.
Rest is history.
So then you went to Hollywood and obviously become amazingly successful, but you've never lost your Pinoy pride, and you're using this global platform to share Filipino culture with the rest of the world. I think we're actually going to get a performance later of Bebot, but how are you using your success to share Filipino culture with the rest of the world? What are some of the things that you've been doing, and why is that so important?
Yeah, so when I started producing, I would when I learned how to produce, and me and Will had a separate room, and I would just sample like Filipino music. I put a hip hop beat over it, and then I was working on the Apple song, and I sampled a sin from Balita from a sin, and then he came into my room, and I was singing the chorus because it best describes on what's going on. Lapit mga kaibigan at makinig kayo. Ako'y may dala-dalang balita galing sa bayan ko. Nais kong ipamahagi ang mga kwento, ang mga pangyayaring nagaganap sa lupang. So I was like, yo, that's the perfect chorus to tell my life story. So I was working on that, and Will came in. It's like, yo, what is this? I'm like, oh, I don't know. I'm just messing around on this Tagalog song. Yo, you should put that on the album. And I'm like, oh, really? All right. So we worked on the Apple song, and then we put it on the album. And I would always try to put a couple of words in my lyrics. It was just something I did when I'm writing. And then so it became a tradition. So for the next album, Will was like, yo, you got to do another Tagalog song. And then I'm like, all right, let's figure it out. And then he was like, how do you say a hot chick in Tagalog? And I was like, and I haven't spoken Tagalog in years now, because all my friends, aren't Filipinos. So, and then I remember I had I remember Bebot, because I had an auntie named Bebot, and I'm like, and that's what it meant. I'm like, oh, it's Bebot, and then I was like, oh, that's cool, Bebot, 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 Bebot. And then that's how that song came about. And it was the first time me writing in Tagalog, really, because Apple's song, the chorus is Tagalog, but the verses are in English. So now he's like, you gotta write a full Tagalog. I'm like, oh shit, It was scary, of course. I wanted to be perfect grammar and everything. So. And it became a tradition, It became a tradition for every album. And then for the next album, I made Mare. And then the last album, I always try to coin a word, that's catchy. And then I made Mabute. And then on the new album, Filipino Queen. So it's been a Black Eyed Peas tradition for me to put a Filipino song in there.
It's pretty unusual though, right? Like I feel like a lot of mainstream pop music is very much tailored to a Western audience. So I was wondering, how have you found that songs like Bebot and the Apple song, how are they received by an international audience? And, do you actually think that maybe through decentralization, through Web3, maybe we can actually see a lot more of this because people can actually create their own communities around the world? Like, do you see that happening maybe?
Yeah, definitely. So many Filipinos are in the game now, representing. So it's cool to be Pinoy now in the music industry, So with Web3, it's just endless. There's no more record company trying to shape the music that you're making. You could be. There's so much freedom now. You could create anything, and I encourage more Pinoy to write more in Tagalog, and because people don't have to understand most of the lyrics. K-pop, right? In the U.S., people sing that. I'm like, how do they know Korean? And I remember I was at the Grammys, and Queen Latifah comes up. Queen Latifah, she came up to me. She was like, yo, congratulations on the new album. But my favorite song? What my favorite song? It's Bebot. And I was like, oh, you mean Bebot? And it's like, yeah. It's got that swagger. I don't know what you're talking about, but it's got a nice rhythm to it. It's like, got that swag. So, it's been I've been singing Bebot around the world, and it's great to see different cultures sing it. They're like, especially like in India, it's like, yo, I know the whole Bebot song. I'm like, you do? And then like a white boy in London would sing it to me, and I'm like, yo, that's pretty dope, And like, told y'all Pinoys are cool.
That is awesome. And, I love what you were sharing about wanting to be able to bring opportunity to millions of Filipinos, not just yourself, not just Jay Ray, but as many people as possible. And hopefully Web3 can make it that way, that, Filipinos don't have to leave home in order to be able to have an incredibly successful career. We've already seen it in the Web3 space with startups like Yield Guild Games, that we're able to attract some of the biggest investors in the world without ever having to leave the Philippines. So I think we want to see that for Filipino creators too. That's all we have time for. Maraming salamat po.